Hello, everybody, and welcome to DC Time. I am Dean.
I am Chris.
Glad that you all joined us again for another week. Chris and I is happy to get together. Had a good conversation. I think we're going to bring you a great show, and we can't wait to watch it back because we don't know what we're going to do today. Sometimes my wife asks, or she jokes with me sometimes, "Oh, did you do another good one?" Because there's a lot of times I'll watch the show after we shoot. I'm like, "Oh, that was really good," or "I liked what Chris said. That was a good one." So she's been teasing me. It's like, "Oh, you always say it's a good one." We hope to encourage you, whoever you are out there. You run across this video, just see two guys just sharing, where we're at or what we're talking about, and just a little bit of our journey. That's all we're trying to do, and hope to encourage you.
Yeah.
With that, I was thinking this week, I'll just start with talking about this. We'll see where it leads. I was thinking back in my mind when I first started coming on to some of these big truths, if you call it, or I started realizing that, God really does love all of his creation. He sent his son in the world to be the savior of humanity, of all people. And that's a huge change, a huge departure in what I used to believe. That was really, really big. And then started looking into things to where this idea of law and grace and the mixture of that.
Right.
Chris and I, we started getting into more grace type teachings and started realizing or thinking, we're not under this law. The law of God,
Yeah,
10 Commandments. And you see things, listen to this first, if you happen to be new to this, listen to this here. This is in Romans, the Apostle Paul. Yet law came in by the way that the offense should be increasing. All right. And there's other scriptures here that it just shows that this law, that happened at a different time, not for you.
For different people.
You weren't given to it. It's different time, different period. You can research all that and see that, God didn't actually hand this law to me and say, "Hey, Dean, hey, Chris, you need to keep my law here." He didn't do that. But even if you thought that, you start seeing here the Apostle Paul talks about the law in a way as if it's just this fuel. It's something that came just so that it would expose and incite sin. It would stir it up. Wish I had an analogy here. Something gets sprinkled on something, and it just stirs it up, agitates it, and it exposes how bad the sin really is.
Yeah.
It doesn't fix anything. It's fascinating.
Right.
And that's what he says right here. Yet law came in by the way that the offense should increase. So why would you want to be under, why would you want sin? Why would you want this to increase, right? Anyway, those are fascinating things for us to start learning, like, wait a minute, we're not under it. And then the whole trying to put yourself under this, it wasn't doing anything. Maybe it had the appearance of doing some good things, but it wasn't doing anything to fix this thing that's at our core that we all need fixed, right? We're not okay within ourselves if we really get down to the basic, none of humanity, right? We're in a state of a dying state, and we're in an evil world, and so we're not okay. So we need that fixed. I might have been looking at systems or looking at the law to fix that. Yeah. And then you discover, no, it's not about the law. It's not going to fix it. It's about grace. Right. It's all about grace. And so
let me jump in here just a second, because it's interesting what you're talking about there, and we know that was the purpose of law.
Yeah.
Was to incite sin, was really to show the human that he was incapable of performing the law.
Right.
And so, it comes in and you see yourself maybe failing at even higher. I mean, just more and more. The interesting thing was this week on my walks at USI, I was looking at that place where I think it's Galatians 5:1, where he says Christ freed us. How's that set? How is Ephesians 5? Or no, Galatians 5:1.
For freedom.
Christ frees us. And the rest of that was so that you wouldn't. He's talking to the Galatians, and he's frustrated with them because he had shared this with them, and they found out that they were no longer under law, and there was this great freedom that came in. This was what Christ did. He freed you from the law. But then Judaizers came in and we're able to then show them, oh, well, now there are some laws you still have to keep, or what, they fooled the Galatians. That's why he says, oh, foolish Galatians, you tasted that freedom and you gave it up so quickly, And then I started thinking, well, that was me in religion. I would think, okay, I've got this down, and then, it was just one failure after another. The more I applied it, the worse it was for me. So that's interesting with what you're saying. You can see it in the Hebrews, who it was for.
Yeah, I like, and two, there again, if you're new to this, dive into it, because it's way better.
Yeah.
When you start learning that, oh yeah, it's not, like I said, the way we opened or way I opened, none of this law, it's not even, maybe you was attempting to do something or use it, but it's not even for you. You can't use it. You can't, it's not even given to you. So this news, it's this free news.
Yes.
That we do have today, that Paul goes on to talk about. Oh yeah, it's so much better that you can experience, and you can experience that freedom, which is funny. We get that in glimpses. That's what we're talking about now, because we are so. But okay, listen to this here. A couple chapters later in Romans that I was reading about here, Paul, what he's talking about, and I think we all do experience some of this. He says, "For what I am effecting, I know not. For not what I will, this I am putting into practice. But what I am hating, this I am doing." Okay, this is all in 7 that we've talked a lot about.
Oh
here.
my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, and now, if what I am not willing, this I am doing, I am conceding that the law is ideal. Yet now it is no longer I who am affecting it, but sin, capital S here in the Concord, making its home in me. So here he's just like, he gets to the point where there's something in me going on here.
Right.
That I can't overcome this.
I can't master it. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't do it. Consequently, I find the law that am I willing to be doing the ideal, the evil is lying beside me. So that's just something I feel like in a way, and maybe, there again, I'm using some of this or don't want to take it out of context, but all of us are similar in a way where we experience that struggle to trying to be complete or be whole, or we have a struggle with this evil within us, if you will. You see that in humanity. You see people talking about that, trying to deal with that. And so on one hand, we are so different with the way we're wired. We talked about that today. It's funny how you see that in our kids, or you see it in each other. People are just bent, and you're just wired a certain way.
Yeah.
It's not your fault. You didn't come up with that. There's things we learn, and the things get validated, and you think you are these things, but something was wired in from the start.
Yeah.
So you have these
bents or traits.
Right. And so we see those differences and
idiosyncrasies.
And then what happens with all of us, we get distracted. We start debating those. We got all these different paths. And is that just all the smoke screen to validate, well, hey, I'm okay. Right. My little bent is okay.
Right.
And you find that, at the base of it, like Paul, it's like, no, there's something within that's not okay. We need something else. What is that? What is that something else? What is to come? That's what we love reading these scriptures, reading what Paul talks about, because there is something wonderful. Right. And there is something freeing. And there is a spirit to things that can free you and give you hope and an expectation that is real.
Right. I think one of the things, like you have mentioned, someone may be tuning into this show for the first time and they're like, what are these guys talking about? And one of the things I'm thinking about is, I think it's 2 Timothy 2:15 that says we are to correctly divide the word of God. And we came to understand that all scripture is for us, but not all scripture is written directly to us. And so when Dean made that reference there, it was a little further looking and investigating to find out that there is scripture that's just for the Jew. They were a chosen people. They had a specific message from God. And then we find this man, Saul of Tarsus, who becomes the Apostle Paul. He writes 13 epistles, and this is all about the uncircumcision. This is about the Gentiles, the nations, and not the Jew. But most of us that grow up in organized religion, we have a mixture of these messages, and it's difficult to untangle these things. But a little bit of investigation will lead you in a direction of, wow, you just used a great word, Dean, the expectation. We were looking earlier at the word expectation, a blessed hope, or something greater, and it led me to Colossians. And there's some verses here I'd like to read in Colossians. Because of the expectation reserved for you in the heavens, which you hear before in the word of the truth of the evangel. We have a reservation for us, and we have an expectation that is reserved for us in the celestials. A little further down, 123, Paul says, since surely you are persisting in the faith, grounded and settled and not being removed from the expectation of the evangel which you hear, which is being heralded in the entire creation, which is under the heaven of which I, Paul, became the dispenser. There he is claiming the very occupation he was severed from the Jewish community, completely severed from them. He asked to be severed so that he could do this job that was given to him by Christ. To be to head up the evangel of the uncircumcision. And that's what Paul is talking about here.
Yeah, he's bringing it, and all through Ephesians, he talks about the evangel of peace. There's that wording.
Yeah.
And that's what is now. That's what we think is for today. That's what's going on. This other thing that you can research and learn about has been stopped. Seems like that's not going on. It's been stopped. So there is
Paused. Yeah.
Well, we talked about it last week. That's why we can talk about Father, Creator, God. He's always been, but the happy God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we definitely, Paul's talking about that. The good news, the evangel of peace.
Mm-hmm.
That's for everybody today.
Yeah.
There's not. Yeah, the other deal that's all in Scripture here about this, the law given to this tiny group of people and the Israelites and all that. That's on pause. We think it's all coming back, but that's not what's going on today.
Right. It's a huge topic. You and I have been basically talking about it for about 25 years now.
Yeah.
Between the two of us.
Yeah.
We used to do it going to work and coming back from work, but it continues. That's why in the one I said, it says, since surely you are persisting in the faith. Well, Dean and I have been persisting in the faith for a long time. We found certain things in here that resonated with something on the inside, and we began to see these words in a different light, and it does provide this expectation. It's great to think about our faith as a gift, and it's given in measure, and it is that measure of faith that brings us to an expectation of how this is all going to be unfolded and carried out by the Creator. Last week or the other, a few shows ago, I talked about the sovereignty of Father, the complete control of Father over his creation. I hear people say it like this: he's still on plan A. He has never deviated from his plan. I think it's one I can't remember, Isaiah 46:10 or one of those. He tells the end from the beginning. Now, he can do that because he's God.
Oh, that's a big truth.
It's an enormous truth.
Yeah, and to talk
he's
about
the
that,
Creator.
To believe that he's, written the script, and we're playing our role, you're playing your role, we're all playing our role perfectly. That's a big truth. That's a big thing to come, to believe, and not everybody's going to see that or agree with that.
Well, my very beginnings, that was a difficult truth to
Yeah.
sort of grasp, because I was still under my religious training, in that I had my part to play, as if salvation was a collaborative effort. You know, I was going to respond. I was going to do my part. I was going to live according to something. It wasn't even for me. I was going to live according to law, which wasn't ever
Yeah.
prescribed to me.
Right. And
That was
exactly.
going to happen. That was going to be how this worked out.
That's a good point, the way I'm thinking in my mind, because I still carried that. I'm trying to come out of that thinking. Sounds
Yeah.
weird, like I've come out of, I know the law's not to me, but have I come out of, that's why I tried to speak to how Paul was still, that evil was still there with him. It's like it just continues to stay and attach its way to different things.
Yeah.
Where I'm still trying to come out of that, my identity's not in some of these things like what I used to believe, but even then more recently, is it just now I believe these things, so that's where I'm at. So it's like I'm trying to come out of all that.
It's funny because I remember in those earlier days, I wished I'd never had any religious training. Therefore, all of this information could not have to go through those filters, have to go through that. Today, I'm at the place like, thank God I had that religious training.
Yeah.
Because these truths, with religion, man's religion being the backdrop, wow, it makes this stuff really stand out for me now. Because it's unfortunate, but man had some of this truth, but it was all messed up. It was all mixed up with the truth that was meant for the Hebrews. And so now, and I've said this a million times, it pops against what I had been taught earlier. So now I'm glad that I had my religious training because of how this stuff came through, and was so much more. The expectation is so much higher than what I used to have,
Yep. All right. Well, let's wrap it up there. Maybe we'll key in a little bit on the expectations. We did talk about that. Didn't get to that a whole lot. But that's a huge topic too, because none of us really know what it's. We don't know what it's going to be.
When you talk about the celestials, what's our frame of reference for that?
Exactly. You don't know, and there's a lot of different theories out there, right? The whole world has been. We grew up with them. There's all kinds of thoughts on it. Like there again, that's the whole idea. We try to read our situation, our bents, the way we're wired, the way our world is that we see in the relative, and you just read it all right back into Scripture.
Yeah.
And everybody's done that their whole lives, and we've been
No different.
guilty of that too.
No different.
But this expectation, man, it's not going to miss.
No.
The thing that we're seeing, just those glimpses we get, and what we, get the juices going. Man, that's right. That resonates. That's not going to miss. That's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited about that. Really excited about that. Maybe we'll dive into that a little more next time.
Yeah.
We'll see.
That would be good.
Well, I look forward to watching the show back. See if we said anything of
Worthwhile.
value.
All right. Hey, you guys, appreciate the comments. Love all of you. Take care. Have a good week.
See you next time.
Bye.